My name is Carson, and I am a PhD candidate researching hospitality in early modern English literature. And I have now reached single digits of how many days are left before I defend my dissertation and hopefully earn my doctorate degree. And this is what one day of working from home on dissertation prep looked like for me. I am feeling extremely nervous about the defense. I have definitely never been so stressed in my life, but I also know that my advisor never would have let me schedule this defense unless she felt sure that I was ready to go in and pass. I've obviously never gone through the dissertation defense process, but she has and has coached many people through it before, so I have to trust that even though sometimes I feel uncertain, that she knows that I am ready. So my nerves aren't really about being afraid that I'm going to fail the defense. It's more about feeling like I really want to do justice to these past 6 years of grad school in this final cumulative moment. And I want to go in as prepared as possible so that I can look back on this as the capstone to all of these years of research and writing and look at how I performed during the defense and feel certain that I did truly do my best. The defense will last about 90 minutes, most of which will consist of my 4 committee members taking turns questioning me about my defense and asking me also about where my research might go in the future. And so there are 2 main ways that I have been prepping for the exam. One is just practicing talking about my work and running through attempts at answering potential questions. For the most part, I write about my research. I don't talk about it, and it does feel very different to put together an answer verbally rather than on the page. And so I need to be able to switch to that mode and be able to put together direct and cohesive responses. And the other thing I'm doing to prepare is just reviewing my dissertation and really making sure that I know it forwards and backwards. And that's what you'll see me doing for almost all of this Workday vlog. I open up the immersive reader in the Microsoft Word online view of my dissertation document. I play back one chapter at a time and basically listen to my own dissertation like it's an audiobook. This lets me review my work in a different way than just reading it back. It forces me to really hear every word, and it allows me also to take notes while I'm reviewing the dissertation, including, unfortunately, taking some notes of the typos that I'm finding on the way. My dissertation is 214 pages in total, and in it I reference over 60 primary early modern texts and another 60 or so critical texts on top of that. And I've been writing it for a long time, so there are some sections of this that I wrote well over a year ago. So I really want to refresh my memory on the project as a whole and make absolutely sure that I can explain how everything fits together, how this one play connects to this other book of scholarship, and how all of these different pieces fit together to form my argument. And as I'm going through and reviewing, I'm also writing up some notes, which I'm not sure if I'll actually reference during my exam, but just going through the process of making these notes is helpful to reinforce my familiarity with the dissertation. One of the things I'm working on, for example, is writing a 1-page overview for each chapter, just to put a really succinct breakdown on the page of the major arguments and critical sources and primary sources I'm drawing from in each chapter. I've even been going through and making lists of some of the data about the primary texts I'm referencing, which I don't expect to actually be quizzed on. I don't think that my committee is going to ask me about the date distribution of my primary texts, but it might be helpful at some point for me to know that of my 62 total primary text referenced, 33 are written between 1600 and 1620, with 11 falling between 1620 and 1642 and 15 falling prior to 1600. But again, really the point of making these notes is just the act of making them, of going back over and over my dissertation, making sure I have a clear picture in my head of how the whole thing fits together. And so that is what you are watching me do in this Workday vlog. Because I'm at this point in my work where I'm so focused and honestly so stressed, I made more of an effort than usual on this day to take breaks throughout where I do something good for my body. Take a nice long lunch break to make a salad, take a little break in the late afternoon to do a little yoga and take a shower and just kind of refresh and reset. These are the kinds of things that I always tell myself I'm going to do during my workday, but I often don't actually do them. But right now, I'm really just at this point where I need to do everything I can to take care of not just my brain as I do this intense mental work, but to remember that my brain is a body part and to take care of the body it lives in. And it's not like everything I do needs to be in service of productivity, but it is also true that taking breaks makes you more productive. I can't work at a sprint all the time. I need to step away, I need to reset, I need to refuel in order to be able to do a long workday, which is what I did here today. I have always taken a lot of care through these 6 years of grad school to try to avoid burning out. This is such a long endeavor. It's such a sustained, intense academic project that it is really easy to get overwhelmed and to just totally throw yourself in and run yourself into the ground. But in order to keep working and in order to see this through to the end, I've had to make sure that I set reasonable work hours and that I clock out at the end of the day. Usually I work around 10 to 6. I wish I were more of a morning person, but I am just not. And I get my work done between those hours. Sometimes if I'm feeling motivated, I'll push a little longer. If I'm on a deadline of some kind, of course, I'll work longer hours. But for the most part, if I have gotten through the work that I set for myself for the day, or if just the end of my workday has arrived, I close my computer for the day and the work is done. All of these habits that I have worked on establishing are with the view of working sustainably. But the thing is, I don't actually need to work sustainably anymore because I don't need to sustain this for very much longer. The whole idea of practicing these sustainable working habits has been to make sure I don't burn out before the end, but I am now basically at the end. And I have been just operating at this degree of stress and concern over being fully prepared that it doesn't actually make me relaxed to step away from my work. I can't really disconnect. All I do is obsess over preparing and wonder whether I should be doing more. And so it actually kind of helps me feel more relaxed at this point to be glued to my computer, to be just constantly working so that I know I have that peace of mind that I'm doing everything I can to be prepared. So this ended up being a work day that went from 11 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, with some breaks in there to step away and recharge. And this is not something I recommend. Don't do this unless you absolutely have to, but at this point, I had to. I have been running towards this finish line for 6 years now at a nice, slow, sustainable pace, and now it is time to reach into the fuel reserves, kick into that finishing sprint, and cross that finish line. And in just a handful of days, I will be there.